cash into this. Plenty of people did. Now the thing was, it wasn't just the wall. In most cases, it was actually two walls. Now come a bit closer. This is a photograph taken in sort of north central Berlin. It's a mostly outdoor exhibition museum area called the Berlin Wall Memorial and Documentation Centre. I'd recommend this more than anything else for understanding how the wall actually functions. There's a much bigger bit of the wall called the East Side Gallery that's covered in paintings and graffiti. It's aesthetically impressive, but it's kind of misleading. This is a much more accurate representation of how it actually functions. That's the wall. This is the west, this is the east. Now on the west, there's nothing to stop you getting up and touching the wall and graffitiing the wall. On the east, this is as close as you can get to the wall, the inner wall itself. We call it the Hinterland Mauer, the inner wall. So East German people can get up to this unremarkable bit of concrete. Had they jumped over it, they usually would have landed in a sort of strip of sand that had hidden beds of nails. They call them Stalin's lawn in the west. You manage to make it past that. Usually you've got one or two fences, sometimes a signal fence, so you touch that, sets the alarms off. Sometimes a simple chain mesh fence with barbed wire on the top. Usually you had a road, like an asphalt strip that went all the way around West Berlin, so that East German border police vehicles could patrol what we start to call, not no man's land, but the death strip. You had thousands and thousands of guards. They were never from Berlin, because there was concerns that Berliners had such an affinity with one another, they'd be concerned about shooting other Berliners. And there were almost never people who had any family in the West, because there was a concern that those men might be flight risks themselves, to try and use this opportunity to escape to visit their family or to stay with their family in the West. There was 306 individual guard towers. You can see a photograph of one of them right there. That one's still standing actually, folks. If you can visit that in the southeast of the city. So that concrete tower. The space between them was usually the maximum accurate range of an AK-47 Kalashnikov. So you've got the beds of nails, you've got the towers, the fences. Usually you had anti-vehicle barriers, bits of old railway lines stuck into wet concrete. Then an anti-tank trench, just in case you stole a tank. Then you had thousands and thousands of lights that were switched on the minute the sun went down, fiercely illuminating that strip through the city around the west. And then you had the wall. So it's not just this, it's the two walls and the space between them. People, for the most part, don't die on the wall or at the wall. They die trying to get anywhere near the wall in the first place. So when you see the wall in a few minutes, hopefully this will explain it a bit more clearly. It wasn't just the wall, it was this. And this is why, even today, sometimes in central Berlin, you'll see big, long, narrow bits of land just sitting there, kind of unused in some cases, sometimes long, narrow parks. I'll be showing you parts of that as we walk through the rest of the tour. The Holocaust Monument, for example, that I'll show you at the end, is actually built in a part of land like this. Is that okay?
Why were they so concerned about people leaving?
Because East Germany had lost so many people, like 3 million people in the space of 12 years, which was 1 in 6 of the population. And it was going to keep on happening. If people could find an easy way out, the vast majority of them would leave. Not everyone, but most people would leave.
So they'd have no city left if they left?
No country. Yeah, no country, no people with skills, no people with education, because the vast majority of people were leaving. I mean, the East German Communist Party itself, the SED, believed that, you know, if they kept on moving towards socialism, then at some point in the future things would be so good you wouldn't need a war. Because people wouldn't want to leave. Why would you want to leave a socialist utopia? But for the time being, as they get closer and closer towards it, we need this to protect ourselves from fascism. This is what they told me.
But no mines?
No mines. Landmines were on the East-West German border, but never existed in Berlin, despite what other people will tell you. There was never any anti-personnel mines in Berlin, but there was anti-personnel mines on the East-West German border, and also these other horrible things called SM-70s. It's like a gun which is unmanned. You stand on this little kind of pressure gauge or a tripwire, and you're shot from like 50 meters away. No human hesitation involved. But so that's why one of the main reasons so many more people died on the East-West German border was that their actual fortifications were lethal, whereas here they were just, you know, big and ferocious. But you never had anything like that here. Anything else? All right.